Good evening and welcome to the Architectural League's 2023 President's Medal Celebration. I am so happy to see so many of you here tonight to celebrate our honoree, Rosalie Genevro. As we all know, our society and the world has changed immensely and in fundamental ways over the last few years. The Architectural League was extremely adept in its agility to adapt, initiate its own transformation, and to respond to the world around us. This is reflected not only in the League's programming and activities, but also in the League's events like this one this evening, this celebration of the annual President's Medal. We held our last President's Medal celebration in honor of the landscape architect, artist, and designer Walter Hood in 2021. In Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem. That event was free to the public, free to the Harlem community, and all were invited. The value of that event and what we learned through the success of that really amazing afternoon was not only our ability to expand our audience, but also we learned what it means not only to talk about spatial justice, but what it means to practice a form of spatial justice. So tonight's celebration is it's part one, actually. On this coming Thursday afternoon, May 25th, I also welcome you to part two of our President's Medal celebration in the form of a block party downtown in Soho on Crosby Street between Jersey and Prince, where we will continue to fet our honoree, Rosalie, and to be in convivial fellowship with one another. But tonight, it is simply my pleasure to say how good you all look, how great it is to see you, and a big welcome to everyone. So now it's my pleasure to welcome tonight's MC to the podium, Michael Beirut. Michael is a partner at the esteemed design firm Pentagram, and we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Michael and Britt Cobb for their wonderful work designing the graphics for tonight's event and the programs that you all have in front of you, as well as the graphics for this Thursday's block party. But not only that, Michael is the League's Vice President for Design and Crafts. So please help me again welcome Michael Beirut.
Thank you, Mario, and thank you, everyone. In February 1985, the top movie in the United States was, anyone know? Beverly Hills Cop. The top TV show was The Cosby Show. The best-selling fiction book was If Tomorrow Comes by Sidney Sheldon, sexy. In nonfiction, it was the autobiography of Lee Iacocca. The #1 song was Careless Whisper by Wham, featuring George Michael, good song. Ronald Reagan was beginning his second term as president, having beaten Walter Mondale in a landslide the previous November. Ed Koch was finishing his second term as mayor of New York. In February 1985, the most exciting new building in New York City was perhaps the Chippendale-topped headquarters for AT&T, designed by Philip Johnson. AT&T had itself ceased to exist 2 years before when the Justice Department ruled that it was a monopoly. The leading cause of death for New Yorkers aged 25 to 44 was AIDS. A gallon of milk cost $2.25. A ride on the subway cost 90 cents. And in February 1985, the Architectural League of New York an organization founded by Cass Gilbert and a group of young architects more than a century before in 1881, got a brand new executive director, a visionary, energetic young woman named Rosalie Genevro. And nothing was ever the same again. Under Rosalie's stewardship, the League evolved into an organization that fully engages with the issues of our day: housing, climate change, equity, social justice, never forgetting the kind of unique contributions that designers and architects can make, creating a better, more beautiful, healthy, and equitable society. So we're gathered here this evening to celebrate Rosalie's 38 years of service to the League, to our profession, to our city, and to our world with the Architectural League's highest honor, the President's Medal. Rosalie has worked with 11 different League presidents over the last 4 decades, from Emilio Ambas and Francis Hall's band way back in the beginning to Mario Gooden today. To describe the extraordinary impact that Rosalie's had over the last 4 decades, we'll hear from 3 of those presidents. We'll hear from Annabelle Seldorf, principal of Seldorf Architects, who was president of the League from 2010 to 2014. We'll hear from Billy Chen, the founding partner of Todd Williams Billy Chen Architects, who was then president from 2014 to 2018. And we'll hear from Paul Lewis, founding principal of LTL Architects, professor of architecture at Princeton University. He was president from 2018 to 2022. So first, please welcome Annabelle Seldorf.
Good evening. What a tremendous pleasure and privilege to be here, and what a great moment to honor Rosalie. As Michael has indicated, Rosalie is a brilliant mind. But perhaps more than anything, she is a humanist, and she's profoundly empathetic. It is these qualities that have permeated every program and every initiative Rosalie has led at the Architectural League, and which I would like to applaud. Over the years, her focus has increasingly gone beyond the traditional concept of excellence in design and architecture, and instead she has turned to far more urgent topics that affect all of us. Rosalie's been instrumental in changing the perception of architects as tangential to, has been instrumental in changing the perception of architects as tangential to these larger societal changes. Societal and environmental changes, I'd like to emphasize. She has effectively demonstrated how they are fundamental to the work of our collective professions, seeking different modes of practice and really a different mode of being. It is this new mindset that is critical to realizing transformational, lasting change that matters to everyone in this room, to everyone in the world. Rosalie is an analytic thinker and is a great and curious listener. And she has an uncanny ability to empower and encourage her team and all collaborators. Her ability to absorb and retain information, to make cross-current connections, has always fascinated me. All the while, she's always low-key and encounters challenges and successes with utter humility. For me, there is perhaps really no one whose assessment and perspective I respect as much as hers. I feel immensely lucky to have had the opportunity to serve as board president with Rosalie's guidance. I feel even more lucky to have Rosalie as a friend of many years, and I am ultra proud to say that we share the same birthday. It's a maybe bittersweet moment. I look forward, Rosalie, to many future years of friendship, dialogue, and exploration. You're not going to get rid of me anytime soon. And I would like to say to everyone, let's raise a glass to Rosalie. Thank you, Rosalie, and Billy, here you come.
Knowing Rosalie, I am sure that she finds being celebrated this evening both deeply moving and deeply excruciating. So I thought I would give a bit of distance from the close focus and begin by talking about an abstraction. I wanted to ask the question, where does your conscience reside? Theologians, moral philosophers, and poets have posed answers. In your heart, in your brain, in your soul. These are all poetic and metaphysical constructs, but I believe your conscience is present in your actions. I've always felt proud to be a part of the Architectural League, because Rosalie has led this organization with her conscience. It is a nuanced and generous conscience, and it has guided us through so many difficult challenges. And as a result of Rosalie's conscience, it is an organization of immense integrity and coherence. And yet, in a strange way, she has done so without proclaiming her presence, without being the figurehead that carries the banner forward. She has led from the middle and not the front. Rosalie is like the wonderful poem by Mark Strand, Keeping Things Whole. In a field, I am the absence of field. This is always the case. Wherever I am what is missing. When I walk, I part the air, and always the air moves in to fill the spaces where my body's been. We all have reasons for moving. I move to keep things whole. Rosalie is moving on, and Rosalie has kept us whole.
I'd like to request that next time I become president of the league, I don't have to follow Billy, if that's okay. So, look, Rosalie, you've gotten off quite easily thus far, but I do need to mention that there is an unkept, carefully hidden
unsightly, really, aspect to the League, which is located just down the crisp felt walls of the League's offices, just tucked into the right, and some of you know what I'm going to talk about. And that's the chaos of Rosalie's desk. But unbeknownst to many of you, in fact to none of you, there was joint funding made available from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, along with a seed grant from the Clean Desk Council, allowing us to excavate this archaeological site. And I'm very pleased to announce some of the findings of this dig. Found among this collection of Rosalie's desk were the agenda and minutes from 194 League board meetings. There were roughly 18 binders of 501c3 990 tax forms and audits, boxes upon boxes of books of Amex and Chase receipts and reconciliation statements, planning for about 1,500 League events, and carefully written out introductions for roughly 436 and a half fully framed introductions. And approximately 376 unique grant applications, along with dozens of yellow notebooks, pads, and full documentation of past, present, and even future events. Needless to say, Rosalie's desk has been declared a site of historical value. But I should note that really what this desk indicates is her amazing workload and also her incredible, insatiable curiosity. And it's a curiosity to always ask the crucial questions about what architecture should be doing. I've often argued that one of the great things about the Architecture League is it's somewhere between academia and a professional organization without the petty politics of either of those two. And Rosalie has brilliantly defined this space, always through this kind of role in which she is this ethical engine. She's asked difficult questions. She's constantly curated and extracted the best from us. She's guided us, as has been mentioned, to a more just, equitable, and ecologically flourishing built environment. I want to underscore that through her programming, some of which has been truly prescient, she's really changed the way in which architects think about and engage climate. From 10 Shades of Green, which is 23 years ago, to 5,000 Pound Life, to Towards a New Architecture, Climate Change and Design, and most recently from Field to Form. In all of these programs and others, she's brought both a sense of urgency that this has to happen now with a real sense of optimism. Although there was one moment in a kind of state of anxiety about the carbon emissions we're all producing, Rosalie hinted that we might have to become subsistence farmers. So needless to say, Rosalie has changed the value in architecture. She's changed what we might do with that value. She's changed in specific what our practice LTL does. She's made the League a place of collective ideas, but with global reach. And over these decades, she's profoundly affected the direction of architecture. So now, unburdened by the bureaucratic piles on her desk, Rosalie Unleashed will be an incredible... Rosalie Unleashed will be a powerful, even more powerful advocate for a better model of what we all can and should do. The world cannot wait. Thank you, Rosalie. Thank you. I welcome President Mario Gooden back to the stage.
Thanks, Paul. Wow, that's going to be a hard act to follow with my remarks. But here goes. Each year during one of our regular meetings, the Architectural League's Board of Directors nominates a candidate to receive the President's Medal. This year, the choice was a no-brainer. In fact, it required no discussion at all. Tonight's recipient was so obvious that it was almost as if for a moment we all shared the same brain. Now, how many of us can say that about the other boards and organizations that we serve? I know that so many of you are here tonight not only because of your long association with the League, but also because of your admiration and affection for Rosalie. I also know that some of you have known Rosalie for much longer than I have. However, I first met Rosalie 22 years ago in 2001 when my former partner Ray Huff and I were emerging voices. Rosalie struck me then as a generous but no-nonsense person who got things done. But also as someone who deeply cares about the design community, the built environment, and the League's ability to foster dialogue about the contributions that design can make to the public and to the world around us. And I must say that this was extremely important to Ray and I, two Black architects trying to practice architecture in Charleston, South Carolina. Never, ever back then, never, ever back then would I imagine that I would now have the opportunity to bestow tonight's honor on Rosalie Genevro. So I'd like to call Rosalie forth. And I would also like to ask all of those in the room who have worked with Rosalie at the Architectural League over the last 38 years in whatever capacity to please stand. So now I am humbled to read this citation. Citation of the 2023 President's Medal to Rosalie Genevro. Over her nearly 4 decades of leadership, Rosalie Genevro has balanced the Architectural League's long-standing interest in the art of architecture with a tireless commitment to interdisciplinary and intergenerational exchange, creating myriad significant opportunities for architects and designers to be informed by and engaged with the challenges of the public realm. She has advocated for and demonstrated architecture's contribution to social and spatial justice and to the health of the environment. The programs and initiatives Rosalie Genevro has launched have widened the League's lens and brought to the fore a diversity of voices, including many from allied fields. Genevro's promotion of public discourse and thoughtful engagement and her work for meaningful change leave a lasting legacy for the League and for New York City's civic and cultural life. And now I'll invite Rosalie to say a few words.
Thank you. Okay, this is overwhelming. First of all, thank you all so much for being here, for your generosity and coming together tonight to support the League. I hope you'll indulge me in some rather personal remarks tonight, no or very few pronouncements about things, and a lot of reflections on the people I've dealt with and the meaning to me of the work that I have done. Looking around this room tonight is a definite "this is your life" moment. With people here, friends from graduate school at Cornell, from all my reading groups ever, from my first full-time job in New York, and so many people I've worked with on League projects of one sort or another. There are about 1 million thank yous that I would like to say. First to Mario and to Mary Burnham, who I think it occurred to them simultaneously that the League should award me the President's Medal, and that was a deeply generous impulse. Thank you. Thank you to Mario, to Michael, to Annabelle, to Billy, and to Paul for your very affecting and also hilarious remarks, and it is true, my desk is a mess. To Michael and Killian and Billy for co-chairing tonight's dinner. I want to say an enormous thank you to Anne Rieselbach and to Daniel Chofie for all the organizational work that they've done, and it is a lot of work to get you all here tonight and to make this evening as wonderful as it is. And thank you to Michael and Britt Cobb and Nick Talent of Pentagram for the printed program, and to Mariana Mogilevich, Matt Ragazzo, Billy Kelly, Rafi Lehman, Alicia Botero, Ann Carlisle, Sarah Wessler, and Kevin Ritter, all of the League staff, for all the work that they've done to make tonight happen. And to keep all the other League plates spinning. Time and League programs do not stop for President's Medal dinners. The timeline on the back of your program and the slide loop that you may have had a chance to see during cocktails give a glimpse of the projects that we've poured our hearts into over, and the great fun that we've had at the League over these last few decades. When I say we, I truly do mean we. All the work of the League has been the work of many people, board and staff and collaborators and program participants. As I think Michael said, or Mario said, I've worked with 11 League presidents: Emilio Ambas, Francis Halsban, Paul Byard, Walter Chatham, Frank Lupo, Wendy Joseph, Calvin Tsao, Annabelle Seldorf, Billy Chen, and Paul Lewis and Mario Gooden. And it has been truly one of the great pleasures of my life to get to know and work with each of them, and with all of the fascinating, accomplished, committed people who have served on the League's board over the years. The League has been extraordinarily lucky to have such a congenial and engaged group working on its behalf, and I thank all of you. I also want to call out again Michael Beirut, who has not only kept the League looking good all these years, but has fundamentally understood and clarified what it is we're trying to accomplish as he has communicated it. Thank you so much to the many people in the room tonight who have been generous financial supporters of the League. All that the League is able to do is made possible by your generosity and by your trust that we will use your investment well. There are a number of people I deeply wish I could thank in person tonight who are no longer with us. Rick Franzen, Paul Byard, Hugh Hardy, Massimo Vignelli, Harry Cobb, and Michael Sorkin were all extremely important to me and to the work of the League over many years. I want to offer a protracted thank you to the members of the League's staff, past and present. The day-to-day effort to create and produce the League's programs and publications and projects is demanding, even while it's satisfying and compelling work. I want to particularly acknowledge and thank Anne Rieselbach, who's been at the League almost as long as I have. The League and generations of young and emerging architects and designers have benefited enormously from Anne's enthusiasm for new work, for her discerning eye, her gregariousness and capacity to sustain contact with scores of people around the country who've participated in League programs, and her deep commitment to fairness in the processes that she runs. I also want to recognize and thank the three-time recidivist Greg Wessner. Recidivism in this case meaning 3 distinct tours of duty at the League. Greg's creativity and entrepreneurialism gave birth to multiple important League initiatives, from the Sentient City and Unfinished Grid exhibitions to the New York City Photo Corps and the City We Imagined, the City We Made project. Qasim Shepard and Varick Shute as founding editor and managing editor. Of Urban Omnibus turned the kernel of an idea into a robust publication and community and cross-disciplinary forum for ideas about New York City and cities in general. And Mariana Mogalevich, as current editor, has built ambitiously on that foundation, broadening the range of Omnibus's contributors, deepening the exploration of important topics, and experimenting with new formats. Nick Anderson, who must have had 7 or 8 different titles at the League. From program assistant to managing director, led the ambitious American Roundtable project, and also with great insight and intellect helped shape the early stages of the organizational self-evaluation that the League embarked on in 2020. Thank you to all of them and to the dozens of others who've helped create and build the League over these decades. What is it that we've worked to build? It's not only particular projects, but underlying and subsuming every specific effort, it has been the organization itself. As an entity with a being and an identity, a congeries of values and attitudes and goals that informs and propels productive collective action. The League is not the staff or the board or the members or its programs or its history, but all of those. The challenge is to sustain the organization and respect its identity while celebrating individual talents and accomplishments and continuously providing for people to come together to pursue objectives beyond themselves, and to accomplish all of this without getting trapped in structures that oppress or process for process's sake, or the too heavy weight of tradition. The Architectural League has legitimacy to the extent that its purposes are important and connected to the needs of society, that it is not self-serving or simply a vehicle for any individual or small group, that it is good at what it does, that its programs are well conceived and executed, and that its processes are fair, that its actions as an employer, an economic actor, and as a partner and colleague to other organizations are ethical, and perhaps most importantly, that it is constantly seeking to renew and evolve itself along all the axes of its identity and actions. The League's come a long way since its founding in 1881, when it was simply assumed that the only people interested in or capable of coming together to jointly study and advance their work in architecture would be white men. The League of 2023 is explicitly committed to anti-racism, to working towards a truly open and inclusive discipline. Thank you. Thank you very much. A truly open and inclusive discipline and profession of architecture that eagerly welcomes and supports all whose interests and talents draw them to it. What remains worth building on from the beginnings of the League is the belief that architecture and the design arts can make critical contributions to our culture, and that the work of making the conditions and nature of those contributions ever better can be done together in a community of aspiration. There's a particularly critical need for an organization like the League at this moment because of our powerful yearning for connection and a sense of community and the decreasing number of vehicles we have that offer us that, and because of our urgent need for structures that support and enable collective ambition. This moment in history demands a lot of architects and landscape architects and engineers and urbanists. The design professions are deeply implicated in the climate and biodiversity and justice crises we face. We also have the information, the tools, the responsibility, and the influence to help move us away from the catastrophic paths we are on as a global society and towards more promising futures. My deep hope is that you all will sustain and increase your investment in and care for the League, as well as maintaining the highest expectations of what it can and must catalyze and accomplish. Finally, on a very personal note, I want to say one more thank you to my husband, Armand Lagarder, and our wonderful daughters. And our wonderful daughters, Bibi and Leah Lagarder. Armand has been my partner and friend through all these years at the League. My life at the League would simply not have been possible without his support. Leah and Bibi grew up with the League as a constant additional presence in our household through all the seasons of program nights and stressful budgets and installation all-nighters, and I must say, through all the years of Armand perfecting what they continue to believe is the perfect family dinner. Leah and Bibi were interested and unusually tolerant fellow travelers. I thank Armand and Leah and Bibi with all my heart for their love and support. And now we should eat dinner. Thank you.